What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hawks from One Podcast, hosted by yours truly, David Lee, aka D Lee 43. Big time win for the Hawks last night. Bounce back against a tough archetype of opponent. The Orlando Magic, a type of team that's given the Hawks a lot of trouble over the years, but the Hawks showed some resilience in that fourth quarter comeback with some appearances by Asa Newell and Mouhamed Gueye, really injecting some energy and some ability to generate extra possessions. Please make sure if you're enjoying the show, make sure you subscribe, add the show, share it with someone. I did start a Substack, so please show your support on there with long form breakdowns. And then I'm also have an affiliate link with the Hawks now. So anytime you purchase tickets through my link for a Hawks game, get me a little bit of a cut. So would appreciate any support there as well. But without further ado, I want to introduce my guy, Ryan Kaminsky. He is the
Hey,
premier
hey.
voice for Magic Twitter. Yeah, at least in my opinion. He does great. He does great
Appreciate
work
it,
for the
man.
Magic. Yeah, man, of course. And I'm really happy to talk through this game with you. Of course, it's always better when we're on the winning side. I wasn't sure if I would want to have this competition or not, but good to have you.
You never know before we schedule it. It could go either way. Someone's gonna have the bragging rights once we show up, but you took this one. I got the I think I got the play in last time we talked. We did a little play in preview, so I got that one, and you had to get me back here. So we had to start somewhere. I mean, Trey, man, Trey just gets whatever he wants out there. Very interested to hear your thoughts on the team, and also glad you shouted out Asa Newell off the rip. I was glad to see him get some minutes. It was cool to he came right in and showed the exact role that he can thrive in next to Trey, hitting those catch and shoot threes, getting that lob and transition. That was nice
Yeah.
to see. So happy for Asa there.
So Jalen apparently tweaked his ankle in the third quarter, which is why Asa
Mm.
Newell was tabbed to bring in into the fourth quarter. And I think, as someone who's been skeptical of him, I know you've spoken highly on him in the past as well. So um, it was a good showing. It was definitely much needed at that particular point. You spoke about Trae Young. Trae had 11 points in the fourth quarter on 2 for 3 from the two, hit 1 3, 4 or 5 from the free throw line, including the floater in the free throws to ice it. So big time game from Trae. I'm going to run through a couple numbers. I want you to let me know if you think there's anything I missed, but to me, when I look at these shooting profiles, the Hawks took about 40% of their shots at the rim. You guys took about 42%. You guys shot 77% at the rim, so I almost feel like you could have taken more than 26 shots at the rim. Both teams just completely did not have it from the 3 point line. It was pretty ugly. There were some early misses on from both teams at the free throw line, and then the foul troubles or the foul line troubles persisted for Orlando throughout the game too, especially Wendell Carter Jr., who had a rough stretch in the fourth quarter. But I think if I had to sum up this game in numbers, it would be disruption. The Hawks were very disruptive early on. Dyson Daniels, Trae Young, Mouhamed Gueye, Jalen Johnson, getting hands in the passing lanes, blocking shots. In my opinion, that's like the only way you can compete with a team like Orlando, right? Because they've got the size advantage over Atlanta and all that. So I'm curious on how you felt like overall about the Hawks defense looked, and if there's any numbers I missed before we hop into the film.
No, I think you highlighted a lot of them. I mean, the turnovers were definitely a big thing. I think it was like a +6 turnover margin for Toronto or Atlanta, and also the free throws. Like you said, 24 of 37 for the team, I believe. That's just not going to cut it in a close game where like the league is at a place where like you just got to do everything right to have a competitive night. Like you got to hit your threes and make your free throws and force turnovers, score off turnovers. The big theme for Orlando so far preseason and so far this season has been crashing the glass and second chance points. They did still get the edge there, but it wasn't quite as dominant as some of their other performances so far. They've played Miami 3 times, so the stats are a little skewed by some of those games as well. But they did win that margin. But like you said, the Hawks kind of just like dominated points in the paint and just got to the rim at will, especially once Jalen did go down. Like they just really unleashed Trey pick and rolls. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. But like there was just no answer for Trey, Ice Trey in the clutch, just doing his thing. Just very crafty, knows how to get the calls, knows how to change his body, adjust it to force contact while it's still kind of appearing like it's the defenders doing the contact, and you just make the ref make a call. And a lot of the times, the offensive guy is going to get it. And he's got that Chris Paul craftiness, where he knows where to be, what movements to do. We're going to highlight a hostage dribble possession a little later here that shows just one example of that craftiness, where it's like, what do you do when he can stop on a dime and get you on his back and force contact that way? Like his floater game and lob game is unstoppable. Like I think he's one of the most complete pick and roll guys, creators, scorers in the game, and he showed it last night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you highlighted is a point that I'm curious on how you feel from the Magic perspective. But there was a bit of disjointed, I guess, a more disjointed nature of the offense in the season opener, and that's to be expected. You're integrating three new pieces offensively. You're putting the ball in the Jalen's hands more often, but there was a lot less, or Trae ball, or as I'd say, just like a lot of less on ball Trae in that opening game against the Raptors. But I felt like even before Jalen went down, they were playing more through Trae in the half court. And I'm curious when it comes to Orlando, of course, because this is a very well respected defense. But you guys don't play defense in the same way that Toronto does. Like Toronto was full court pressing Trae. They're picking them up 94 feet. It, Orlando is more so like we're going to be very physical in the half court. We're going to fight over screens. We're going to switch if we need to. So first off, how do you feel like Orlando's approach towards forcing anyone else besides Trae to initiate? Do you feel like that was a point of emphasis for them from what you saw? Because I feel like that's something Toronto was very big on, and they found some success on because there were a lot of turnovers when Trae wasn't operating offense.
Yeah, I wrote about that idea at least a little bit as one of the keys before the game. Like it's just it still starts with Trey cutting off the head of the snake, trying to make others beat you. And the key to me is always like not doubling Trey while still trying to slow him down because you end up leaving somebody open and just make it way too easy for him to hit the pass. Like do your best to kind of like slide some help over without fully doubling and just throw like you mentioned, kind of the high powered point of attack defenders in Orlando's backcourt. Throw them a lot of different looks. I really liked Anthony Black's screen navigation to open the game. I think it was more against the backups and maybe Alexander Walker and Dyson Daniels or there's some combination there because AB comes off the bench. So I think there was some second unit in there. I don't think Trey was out there in that point of the first quarter, but either way, like AB's screen navigation popped out in that first game. So I really liked how he was able to force others to take tough shots. So there were definitely instances throughout the game to highlight defensively. But yeah, I totally agree about Orlando's offense. Totally disjumbled, I guess. Just did not look in sync. They now Franz Wagner showed up. Like Franz did his thing again. Like when in doubt, Franz apparently is good for his 20 points in the first half now, where like he's gonna get to the rim at will. And like he's gonna run pick and rolls, break out the Euro step, deceleration footwork, the finger rolls, and has a nice pick and roll game himself, handoff game himself with Goga and Wendell, with the floater game, the lob game. It's really developed there. So that was kind of Orlando's base set this game that did still work, but they kind of went away from it in the second half, and just a lot of questionable, just not maybe not a lot, but a couple questionable decisions, especially that last shot by Paolo. I had no idea what was going on. Like there was I think 10 seconds left, and he just kind of heaved it 5 feet from behind the 3-point line. Like you would think, I'm pretty sure the team had a timeout or could get a better shot than that. Um, so that was a questionable one, but otherwise, otherwise it really seemed to come down to just not being able to stop Trey from doing his thing, and whoever got the last shot would kind of win this one. And Ice Trey cold closed it out like he does. Wendell fighting on the offensive glass is not just like a one off thing. That's like a consistent theme for this team. That's like I asked him about that after the game. He takes pride in putbacks and those momentum shift plays. And it was a huge one to end the game in game one, where he drew a foul on a putback, and that basically secured the win for Orlando. He didn't hit the free throws in this one, like you said, but he was getting to the line that way, creating second chance points, super important for this team. And you look at what makes this Magic team great the last 2 years, and it's not only the turnovers they force, but it's the rebounds they get on both ends, especially with Goga and Wendell. Wendell's ability to get those putbacks is huge for Orlando, and the crashing the glass, that was a big factor, but it wasn't quite enough. And really, like when the offense isn't rolling, they basically rely on knowing they have the advantage on the boards, where just get a shot up, kind of like having Dwight Howard back in the day where it was a cheat code. Like just get the ball near the rim and you got a shot at a rebound, an alley-oop, something.
Yeah, and I think the Hawks did a much better job than they have in the past against Orlando, or even that they did against Toronto. Only a -4 in the rebounding battle, only allowed 12 offensive rebounds to Orlando. Now, there were ones down the fourth quarter that were rough, that were allowed to Wendell. But even on that last shot by Paolo, like everyone found a body, they boxed out, secured the rebound. So I wanna hop into the film so we can get some eyes on like what these concepts that we're talking about. But the first thing I really want to talk about is a disruption from the Hawks. So sorry, 1 second. You've got this was a really impressive play to me. I don't know what your thoughts were here, but I don't think there are many guards that would step up to Paolo when he has a wide open lane to the rim. But for Dyson to high point that, and then I was so happy they reviewed it because it did look clean from that first look. But what I do like about this play from Orlando is running these cross screens to get Paolo against a mismatch, or at least have Jalen try to recover. Do you think that this should have been maybe like a pump fake opportunity for Paolo? Do you think maybe he underestimated Dyson's ability to get up and actually block that?
Yeah, that's a good shout because I'm sure Paulo's thinking like easy dunk,
Hmm.
like for pretty much, especially like given the size advantage there against most
Yeah.
guards, you're getting that foul and one call. But you're right. I mean, Dyson is one of the most like best instinctual defenders in the game right now. His insane amount of deflections and steals last year shows what kind of talent he has on that end and the instincts he has on that end, and that comes in the form of blocks too. So like it's all timing, like you said. Like he steps in to help. Like he's probably matched up, it looks like, with Anthony Black, so he's leaving the corner
Hmm.
wide open. And a right. And so, Paulo probably could also make that kick pass. But like you said, a pump fake right there, you get Dyson in the air. Maybe if you think it's a shot blocking big, you do the pump fake too. And
Right.
it's more of like a mental thing going in, like you expect a rim protector is where the pump fake comes in, versus he sees the size advantage and just goes up strong. But yeah, I mean, if he's about to launch like that, it would have been nice to, a pump fake in hindsight gets him in the air, gets the foul call. Normally a good move for him,
Yeah.
but that is a nice move to kind of. I do like how you highlighted the screen there as well to kind of
Hmm.
create some space for Paulo on the baseline. Just a quick half step of advantage to get him a lane where he can quickly go downhill from mid range to the rim. And even though Dyson did get the stop.
Yes, it's a hell of a play by Dyson, but it's good. This is good for balance, good set design from Mosley. You got the big man Goga above the key, so it takes out Atlanta's biggest rim protector. If this is anyone else, it's probably a dunk for Paolo. I think it was good set design regardless. This play I wanted to highlight too because this is when the Hawks were on a 10-0 run, and this is just Dyson being Dyson, back tap. Hawks
Mm.
get out in transition. This is where they're at their best, and then this is the Asa Newell dunk in transition.
Ah,
So
man.
yeah.
That's a play of the night for the Hawks right there. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
one of those pick six sequences that normally the Magic are out here making with Suggs, but
Mhm.
no, that's a fun one right there. I mean, that's like, what any team wants to do. And I know Charlie Cummings has written about just the value of points off turnovers nowadays, and how that was
Mhm.
so big for the Thunder success, and even the Pacers as well, for their run. Just when, like we hit on earlier, when every team is great at everything, you have to win on the margins. And
Yep.
hustle plays like second chance points and points off turnovers, converting off turnovers, is how you win on the margins. And I know that's been a big emphasis for Coach Mosley and Orlando's offense. So every team wants to do it. So when you have a lethal point of attack guy like Dyson Daniels, you can unleash, let him wreak havoc. And right here, he pokes the ball loose, forces the
Mhm.
steal, starts leaking out, throws a little no look to Trae. Trae wisely brings it out 2-on-1, and then hits Asa Newell streaking down for that alley oop. Like that vertical threat, that's what Ace is there, is that tall point. Like he had the highest tall point. Like he reached I forget the name for it, when he reached the highest point from jumping.
Mhm.
The vertical leap, I believe, is the term. It's like just that's his special skill set, is that offensive rebounding. That between his height, his jump, his timing, he can get really high and kind of as higher than most other players, and get there quicker doing it. So you can expect him to have a quick second jump, to
Yep.
be on the offensive glass, to be that lob threat as you saw, and really a play finisher, just another play finisher option next to Trae, which is always helpful to have, especially when you lose a guy like Jalen and you just need guys to come out and fill their role. Now that you have to adjust and let Trae do a lot of the creating.
Yeah, I think the motor was big, and I like that you high pointed, or like you highlighted with his second jump. I think that's definitely one of his skill sets, and one of the biggest reasons why he's such an offensive rebounding threat. But um, this play here, this is why like Hawks fans have been asking for Mo Gueye to play more. In the opening night, Keaton Wallace was the eighth man off the bench, and the Hawks were playing against another very lengthy, strong team in Toronto, and they didn't have this weak side presence. And this is an example of Paolo. He gets a step on Jalen here, and I don't think this is anything that Paolo does incorrectly. I think this is just a hell of a play from Mouhamed Gueye, and then the Hawks immediately get out into transition. And last year they were second in transition frequency, but they were slightly below average in transition effectiveness. So big to see them convert like that so quickly. Then I want to highlight this play from Mouhamed Gueye as well, because he was just all over the place, forcing turnovers, big time big here. So
yeah,
you have to be active when Trae's on the floor and you've got someone driving against him. So with the way that the floor is right now, like Anthony Black has a potential lane. Trae at least moves his feet enough to make him spin. Then Mouhamed Gueye comes over and is able to dig. They're crowding him, and then Anthony Black tries to throw this without looking at Paolo, and Paolo doesn't go further down the court and forces that turnover. So I think Mouhamed Gueye's presence was huge.
Yeah,
I don't think. Yeah, go
ahead. From my angle in the arena, I didn't necessarily see it was Gueye that did that, but I do remember how frustrated Orlando's kind of sideline coaching staff was after this specific moment. Just like, come on, we can't even get into our sets. Like, he's just very disruptive right here. And AB's like self-creation has kind of been a talking point amongst Magic fans too. Like, when with the screen, it normally looks better, but sometimes he can kind of get trapped like this. And it was just a bad pass. Maybe he thought one of his shooters were there and they both moved while he wasn't looking, because like from the screenshot it looks like either one could catch the pass when he first looks, and then they're both immediately gone. So maybe it was that as well, but yeah, just a bad pass, but great deflection, the dig, like you said, and great kind of awareness, instincts, and those active hands without fouling by a big man is really tough.
Yeah, it's big time. His hands are great. He's super disruptive. He was around like 80th, 90th percentile in deflections last year. In this sequence here, you're going to see Jalen Johnson force a travel after the Hawks get into a scramble scenario. So Trae takes the early three, and then Orlando has somewhat of a transition opportunity. The Hawks get the defense set, and just by being disruptive here, right? Like, just by Jalen stepping up, this pass doesn't get through cleanly. I think this is a point of like it's a bit disjointed here. Of course, Bane and Paolo aren't exactly extremely familiar with playing with one another. I think that's a big reason why this handoff isn't clean. But I also think like the pressure from Jalen forces this handoff to come a little bit earlier than it's supposed to. Like Bane wasn't able to get his body into Jalen, which allows him to stretch his arm out. So you have to do this. Like, you have to be able to do things against these tougher teams, right? So here, another cross match in semi-transition. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has to contend with Paolo Banchero. And then this entry pass, kind of similar. Like, I just don't think that this is the best place to place it. You can see that Nickeil is sitting on his right shoulder, right? So usually when you do a post-up, you'd want to give it to their outside hand. But Paolo either doesn't establish himself enough, and he's already turning his head before he even has the ball. So I feel like he doesn't go up to get this soon enough, which is a big reason why this ends up being taken away. And then Trae's active and then turns into a foul because Bane tries to get the loose ball. So, I mean, this is all in the first quarter. You got to set this tone. And then there were a ton of offensive fouls called on screens, both in the Hawks and the Magic. Anthony Black is going to try to walk Trae down. And, apparently this is going to be a point of emphasis for referees. I don't think all of these were fouls, but I do think, like, for Trae, this is one of the few things he can do in this time. Like, obviously, getting pulled into an action with Paolo at the top of the key is not a good thing. So you have to be able to be aware enough to say, hey, maybe I can sell this foul here. And I want to call out this one too, because sometimes really when Trae's at his biggest liability is when he's in rotation, right? Because when he's having to pass off assignments. So here they're trying to do a similar inverted pick and roll, put Tyus Jones the screen for Franz to get downhill. Trae jumps out, does a good job at least to make Franz not get downhill immediately. Then he recovers back out to Tyus Jones. And then he's going to play the passing lane at this point because he is beat at this point, but we know that Tyus has a proclivity, to not be extremely aggressive offensively. He plays the pass, and then the Hawks are out and going in another direction. And so when you think about how Tyus has looked so far, I was a little bit lower on that acquisition. I'm a big Jace Richardson guy. I understand he's a rookie. These guys need time, but it felt to me like I didn't feel a ton of Tyus's impact in last night's game. But I'm curious on what are your early thoughts so far?
Yeah, Tyus is another one. controversial, I would say, a little so far for the Magic. I would say
Mhm.
that when now that we have expectations, it is now time. It's a little rough for role players, where role players aren't
Yep.
necessarily like consistent every night. Like that's kind of why they're role players. So like when we have an exciting rookie that looks like a 3-point sniper like Jace Richardson, all the fans want to see him play, even though they just spent 5 years clamoring for Tyus Jones to be traded to this team. The moment they see a nice shiny new toy, like it's on to the next one kind of thing, where they just want to
Mm.
you want to see the backup quarterback replace the starter at like that kind of thing immediately. But that being said, I think Tyus has been what he has been what he's good at, where he's an assist to turnover guy. He's a playmaker. He's a smart point guard. He's a 3-point shooter. His shot hasn't, he hasn't taken a ton of volume so far. But in terms of offense, I have liked, let's say, like the Corey Joseph quality of finding Paolo in transition that Corey showed last year, where like just
Mm.
find the big man, find the streaking powerful force down the line. He had a few nice dimes and decisions that way, where he'll, you know, but he's also had some mishaps where he just kind of looks in sync and maybe makes one too many extra passes. I think the whole team is kind of finding its rhythm, as you're hitting on. Like they're not in sync yet offensively, where they know exactly where to be and how to run all the handoffs and all the pick and rolls endlessly like that. Because like a couple of the highlights, the plays you highlighted to start this section are deflections where they should just be easy communication parts on Orlando.
Right.
Like it should just be initiating the set, and they can't even initiate their action 2 plays in a row there, where it's a handoff and it's a post entry pass to against a guard, and you're getting you're letting the basically the intensity, the active hands of the
Mhm.
defense annoy you to the point where you can't even initiate the set. So that's something where they probably have to work on timing and just kind of maybe getting a little closer on this handoff. Like you can see on that screenshot, like Desmond's just kind of hanging the ball out here and waiting for Paolo. Maybe a little more direct quarterback, running back, stuff it in the
Right.
gut of your guy running by the screen. Maybe that comes. And normally it's also kind of the opposite. Normally Bain is the one setting the screen and getting the handoff. So maybe this is just just a slightly unnatural set, but also it's credit to the defense. Like he's extending active hands, getting in there, wreaking havoc, and he's doing it near the sideline where you have an extra defender, and that sideline
Mhm.
ultimately forces the turnover. And similar for the post entry pass that you show after, where like you said, Na is just sitting on the shoulder. He's a smaller guard who probably like one option is to top the post entry pass and knock away the pass like that, and he beats him to the ball. He beats him to the punch. Paulo takes a little too long to secure the ball, and he loses it like that. He if and
Mhm.
like you mentioned, he turns his head before he even has the ball. If he goes and gets it, maybe he with two hands, maybe he secures that post up positioning, and now has a mismatch in the post instead of a turnover or deflection there. So those are little things, winning plays, where the Hawks brought the intensity last night out of the gates a little bit more than Orlando. And the Magic still hung around, like for a game where they
Yep.
shot, Paulo and Bain shot 1 of 12 from 3-point line, but between the two, like it's tough to overcome that, let alone all the free throws and everything else. Like when your stars are missing that many shots from deep, where that's just such a big swing factor, where you don't want to call it shooting luck, but it's the volatility of the 3-point shot. Some nights it goes in and some nights it's not. It doesn't reflect on them as shooters, but it makes a big difference in that game when you're relying on it. So for them to be that off offensively and still be in it points out their hustle and their defense and intensity. That's part of who they are, their identity. But when you make that many like basic mistakes, you would say, like the coach was the first to say it, when you miss that many free throws, make that many turnovers, miss that many threes, like it's going to be really hard to overcome. And they couldn't will the win last night like they normally do.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big reason why I feel like the floor for this team is so high, because you're not going to be the worst 3-point shooting team in the last decade again,
Yeah.
presumably. And of course, defense gives you a really high floor. And I think that last night's game was a good example from both teams. Like the fact that the Hawks were able to lean on their defenses is like foregone conclusion in the Trae Young era, not because of Trae's inabilities, although he does have his complications defensively, but just overall with the roster that we've never had the ability to say, hey, let's play defense first. And we'll take a look at one of those closing lineups that went very defensive heavy. But like this is just kind of the stuff that they're going to need Trae to do. You know, like he initially
That was huge.
like he's going to initially set up like he's going to take the charge, but he's going to get tested by other guards, especially really strong guys like Jalen Suggs. And so being able to take that bump, knock it away, and then get out in transition, this is big time. Like the Hawks are going to need this level of effort from him, this level of concentration, this level of attention to detail. So it had to start early. I like that Trae looks so much better at this particular point. The other thing I want to highlight with Trae in particular is he's getting to the paint a lot more. I think my guy Zeb pointed out that he has like almost 15, 16 attempts in the paint so far. This one gets blocked, but what I want to highlight is the different types of ways he's getting to the paint. So for a long time, all of Trae's paint pressure has come from pick and roll or isolation, right? And so the fact that the Hawks are able to get him going down off of handoffs or a movement. There's one in particular, I think it's this one. Yeah, like this is even like a huge handoff. Like this isn't even like a handoff that creates a ton of an advantage, right? Like here, it's not like Onyeka sets the screen, but just the ability to attack out of movement, that slight sort of contact with Onyeka opens up this lane for him to get past Suggs and get to his sweet spot. And so it's going to make things so much easier, especially when we're seeing a little bit of like his burst sort of deteriorate a little bit over the years. Like this is another example where they're going to run this down screen for Onyeka Okongwu to come up and set up a handoff. And then you could see just that slight hesitation from Suggs as he's trying to figure out how he's going to go around the screen or this handoff. It opens up a lane for Trae, and he's able to get it and hang it over Franz Wagner. Another thing I want to call out on this particular play, you know, I'm sure you saw the clips as well from Rick Carlisle, where he's talking about the difference between like 4 out, 1 in, and 5 out. If the Hawks would have had Dyson in this corner here, Franz is going to challenge this shot way sooner. But because Dyson's in this more immediate dunker spot, which, you know, you can get it to the open, you can get it in the vertical space, you can wrap it around his bag, you know, whatever it may be. He presents a more immediate threat. So this challenge from Franz is later than it would have been if he was in the corner. And so that's what I like about the Hawks, because they're going to be able to play. You can put Dyson in that dunker spot. It's pretty much just Dyson and maybe Jalen or Onyeka, but even if they go double big, they don't always have to be 5 out. And because of Trae's finishing issues from time to time, you're going to need the ability to create these sort of advantages and space in the paint. Like here, for example, again, like this isn't this isn't like a traditional screen and roll. He's going to reject it. And as he gets downhill, like he has this immediate option from Dyson diving to the rim as well. So even though he ends up, to your point, this is when you're talking about where he put Payne in the hostage dribble, he has another option here because Dyson doesn't remain static in the corner. And so I love that they have this optionality to quote Ansi Soleil, but it just gives Trae more open lanes. It gets him to the rim a little bit easier. It gives him different ways to not have to attack like against a set defense. But like this is an important possession too, and this is why I've always felt like, of course, you know, you have to have an offensive personnel on the floor, but like if Tyus isn't on the floor, I don't think Trae attacks him here, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like maybe you may disagree, but I don't think there's anyone else that Trae would have attacked like this, and it ends up being a layup that may have possibly been an and one. So like this is the trade-off from my perspective, where you play someone like Tyus, because it gives someone to attack in transition or attack in the half court, and good recognition from Trae to realize there's no bigs back as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I mean, he is not a plus defender out there, especially compared to the personnel Orlando has.
Exactly.
Like you are definitely sacrificing a little bit of defense there that he can get hunted on. And I mean, I think that's ultimately why he's been a backup point guard in this league mostly and most effectively as a backup point guard, because that's not normally as needed in the backup role as much as someone who can just orchestrate some offense and keep the bench offensive alive and create consistently good shots that way. But yeah, that's a good point on Tyus defense. That is a trade-off. And, you know, that is to me could also just kind of show its roster depth, maybe more so valuable for the regular season to have that bench creator. And then, you know, once the postseason comes around, he might not get as much burn or be as much of an option, but sometimes the chemistry hits differently, or injuries shake things up and he might end up the starter for a little bit. You never know where the defense tries to make up for it, but that is definitely, that's a hole. And you can't really get away with multiple non-defenders on the floor at the single time. You might be able to get away with one if you can flank and cover them up. But like normally it's like, if it's a starter, you're doing it for someone like Trae, where you're getting like the benefit
Right.
of all the scoring, gravity, creation, half court consistency. And Tyus isn't bringing that volume of it. He might bring a steady hand off the bench, but not necessarily creating consistent offense for you single handedly to the point where you can then say, all right, that's our offense. Now let's build a defense surrounding that complements it. So it's definitely a tough decision. And yeah, to Trey's like craftiness, you went through some of the plays. Like like I gotta say, some of it is a little like foul baity. It's a little herky jerky. It's a little James Harden, little Chris Paul. But like these are the rules of the game. Like if they're
Mhm.
gonna call it this way, he's playing by the rules. And he has incredible body control and that incredible start stop still. Like it's not quite the same, but you can even see there like he can stop on a dime when he knows Bane is trailing him to get him in jail with the hostage dribble. He beats him with the crossover. He knows he's already beat him and drawing help. So he's the king of the floater lob threat, the flob as PD Webb coined it, where like literally he doesn't have to decide until the ball's leaving his fingers if he's going to aim to the left for the rim or just slightly to the right and make it a lob. And to your point with Dyson, I hadn't considered that as much, the benefits of the
Mhm.
4-4-5, the 5 out versus 4.5, where you're able to have someone in the dunker spot be more of a serious threat or an immediate threat as well. So you're maybe less likely to contest as quickly, and that late contest creates just enough room to score the layup where the contest isn't really even felt the way it probably should be or would be if he was
Right.
far away and the team could rotate. So that's a good note. And Trae, still doing his thing, just some of the best shooting touch, finishing touch on just about any shot you can think of.
Yeah, and this is another good example of like the off-ball movement that's really important for the Hawks to get into. So I didn't know Nikhil was a big jump pass guy, but I've seen that a lot in these first couple of games as a Hawk. But just giving Trey the opportunity to not have to orchestrate everything from the top of the key against a set defense is really big. But the issue that I do think he runs into from time to time is like his default option is the floater. So like here, Anthony Black is only playing him for the floater. And so because of that, it kind of throws off Trey's timing. And then he's still able to contest that layup because he takes it from so far out.
Mm,
And so I think that I've seen some Hawks fans reference this, but like the fact that he isn't getting to a mid-range jumper as much as or as often as he used to, like where this could have been, okay, if they're playing the floater, then I can snatch back and go to a mid-range pull-up. Or, because at this particular, with the way that the floor is right now, like getting all the way to the rim isn't really an option for him. But Anthony Black is he's waiting on the floater.
yeah, like
And,
that
and
Chris Paul step back
mhm,
elbow midi right here is
yeah.
is what you're thinking. Like stop on a dime, send him
Hmm.
flying by, and get that just pull up elbow midi.
Yep.
And yeah, that's a good point. Like if you become a little too predictable, it's already tough shot to begin with. What makes him so
Right.
effective is he's the master of the tough shot. So it becomes a good and efficient shot. But if it's kind of exactly what the defense is expecting at this point, then to your
Hmm.
point, like they can kind of, they're going to contest that first and prioritize
Yep.
that first. So if you don't counter, then you become a little predictable and maybe get your shot contested when that wasn't even the shot you were necessarily taking.
Yeah, he doesn't quite have the left hand floater. It's like Anthony Black he's daring him. He's saying, "Please put it in that right hand because I'll just take it away from you." And that's
Mm,
why it becomes this awkward, like midair gather, pump fake, stretch out, finger roll.
yeah,
It's just like it becomes an even worse shot. And so to your point, if this turns into a pound dribble right at the elbow, I think he has a better opportunity of getting a better shot here. But
yeah,
there are also
that's
just some
fair.
tough misses. I feel like we saw Trey reject a lot of screens, attack the bigs in space as well. I didn't like what he did against Paolo. Twice against Paolo, he tried to get to a step back, which I don't think that's the time to do that. I think Paolo he does a good job moving his frame, but this is probably when you want to try to use the quickness. Like this is never going to be a good shot. It just isn't, just because Paolo's going to be able to sit on it. And the first time he still almost makes it, which is a testament to his shot making. But the first one he took was an air ball. The other thing I want to ask you, this is like a full length clip. There was a particular lineup that Quinn Snyder went to that was like just really frustrating. Uh, is this the right one? Oh, I messed it up. Dang. So, anyways, Quinn Snyder played a lineup with Keaton Wallace, Luke Kennard, and Vit Krejci for a very extended period. They were like a -9 in those minutes.
Mm,
And the thing that I immediately texted like the Grizzlies fans and the that I know, I was like, y'all didn't tell me that Luke doesn't like to shoot the ball, and it felt like there was so many. Like this one's a little bit tougher, right? Of course, like there's this kind of bad spacing here. If he drives this middle, Keita Wallace's man is sitting right there. He can't really go this way. Like, but just in general, his proclivity to pick the ball up and just sort of kill the possession. Like he ended up getting bailed out by McHugh here, but there were multiple instances throughout the game where I'm like, you shoot 43% from three, but you're very hesitant to pull the trigger. And I'm not sure how valuable that's going to be for the Hawks because we need his 3-point volume back. Like he's taken 7 in 2 games, but then you look at the volume that Nickeil Alexander-Walker is at, and he's almost at like averaging 15 field goal attempts per game. It's just I kind of feel like that would be flipped a little bit, but I'm not sure if you felt that Luke was passing up shots as well. I did feel that the Magic from time to time were passing up open threes, and it didn't always lead to better shots. But one thing Quinn Snyder always says is like turnovers come from passing up open shots, and I think that the Hawks were directly degrading their shot quality when there were times when Luke Kennard didn't do that pump fake and then immediately step to a three. I also don't think they're running quite the sets I'd like to see. Like I want to see him fly off a little bit more pin downs, out of floppy, whatever it may be, but they're not really using him like a movement shooter. They're using him more so like a secondary creator, which isn't the worst thing. He was able to find guys, but I don't know. I feel like we're not using him to his potential.
Yeah, it's almost like utilizing his secondary skill over his like primary strength.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did notice that he was like run off the line a lot. I think that was probably, part of the defensive coverage when he's out there is to run him off the line and make him put the ball on the floor, be a dribble guy. Like Joe Ingles is thought of as a shooter, but sneakily secondary creator, has some of that
Yeah. Good
handle
point.
to him. So that's where they unlock some of that ball handling and the creation maybe in the second unit when Trae's not out there. Like they're mixing up a lineup here to see if they can try to find some offensive creation between not their primary guys. So he had a nice floater in there as well that I appreciated. Love a good floater, but yeah, I do totally agree that he's a knockdown catch and shoot 3-point guy. You want him to let it fly and be probably have the greenest light of anyone but Trae and I guess
Exactly.
Porzingis on the team. Like as soon as if he has any inch of space on a catch and shoot three, like they want that 3-point gravity more than they want the dribble drive floater from Luke Kennard or the extra pass or whatever it is. So he could do the other stuff, but I definitely agree it should be ancillary to just you want to see him get a higher volume up. So maybe it means more off ball looks for him, but it does seem like maybe they're trying to unlock some of that on ball playmaking of his, because Quinn Snyder talked about playmaking in pregame, and the big thing I asked him more about the Jalen Johnson side, and he was super impressed by Jalen's creation ability and his he called like his biggest strength is his being a creator for others and being willing for others. But before that, he was talking about playmaking and really just I believe he mentioned Kennard in that sense, and mostly was just harping on like the effort of the team, like him just wanting to see playmaking from everyone, and how playmaking can be just as much about off ball movement, like cuts and smart timing, off ball cuts and that kind of thing, as much as it is the lead creator creating that advantage and hitting it for them. So it can be, symbiotic relationship, ball handler and off ball movers. But he definitely emphasized like nonstop, like ball movement, nonstop playmaking, ball movement, where maybe that's part of it too, where he just wants Kennard to be in that flow of ball movement, and maybe that like we'll see how it kind of shakes out, because I agree. I think his catch and shoot should be the threat that is used first, and then any ball movement you get is like ancillary off of that.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Now, Kennard said that Quinn told him he wants to up his 3-point volume as well. And so
there you go.
His per possession 3-point attempts have always been pretty high, but then you look at the actual like his averages, and it's 5 or 6 per game, and I think that should be closer to 7 or 8, especially for this team. They just really need the volume. I'm curious on how you feel the Hawks defended Paolo, and like how much of like was the Hawks individual defense versus, from what I feel like, and I saw NBA University say it as well, but like the process for Paolo wasn't the best I've seen from him. I was kind of shocked that he took 5 threes. There were times it felt like he was not settling, I guess, but more so like it's interesting to me that the first option here is for Paolo to shoot a 3 like semi off movement, like right off the catch. Like it did feel like there were times where he was just like I didn't really understand some of the shots. Like this year, I can't really like I feel like anytime you should have someone like Luke Kennard, like this should be an immediate like I'm going to get to the block or I'm driving all the way to the rim. And so
Mm.
like I wasn't a big fan of this shot. And then I think it was I captioned this. I just don't understand. Of course, this is the fourth quarter shot. I just don't think he understood how much time was on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea what was going on with this decision. There's does it say if there's any timeouts left? I'm pretty sure the Magic had a timeout. I don't know why you
No,
heave
they
there.
didn't have a timeout.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, so I'm wrong. So
yeah,
that might be one reason is you don't have a timeout. He feels he's open, he shoots, but like, 10 seconds left. You got to think you can get a better shot. But honestly, it probably would have been just a back down fade away anyway if he was just gonna kind of like take the last shot. So,
yeah,
if he felt open, I get it from that perspective, but let's see here. I mean, he's not open. That's a fadeaway pull up
yeah.
three,
That's a
like
really tough shot.
5 feet behind the line. Like it, I agree. I think it was just not being fully aware of the clock, or just like a quick decision because of the scramble play to try to
Hmm.
get the ball up on the rim and hope that maybe the offensive rebound thing that has kind of been a factor in Orlando's favor, maybe that works out. I think it's a combination of that. But I do agree his shot selection was just off tonight.
Hmm.
You saw it in that, you highlighted in that Kennard play, like he just picked up his ball, dribble for no reason, almost like he
Yeah.
felt a little too much pressure from the other side there with Nikhil, to where yeah, maybe he felt Nikhil kind of digging in where he had to pick it up and get a floater up. But like you said, like there's 17 seconds left on the clock and you got Kennard, like you can probably use that
Hmm.
mismatch a different way, whether it's a post
Hmm.
up or whatever it is. But I think they're trying to get him involved as a jump shooter. I think they're trying to like unlock some of basically everyone shooting gravity as off ball shooters, to just kind of create spacing for everyone else. So there is that aspect. He's just he hasn't proven to be that threat yet. So it's kind of like um just development, in game development and reps of like let's get him open looks. And like if he has the advantage and he's that open, like you highlighted on the first play, like he probably could have just drove there as well. Like he didn't
Yeah.
necessarily need to just shoot. He had a driving lane. So what is that that question to me is that a choice from the coach where they're telling you, for priority is if you're open, shoot that three on this shot before you drive? Or is that a decision on Paulo's part where he sees trees waiting for him in the paint and just launches it? But he had enough of a driving lane to get ahead of Seam, and I will
Right.
always vote for getting Paolo ahead of Seam downhill is how you maximize his tank of a force downhill skill set. He's a playmaker, he's a tough scorer, he's a foul drawer, and like anytime he has a head of steam, that's when he's at his best. So like that's when I think the Magic's offense utilizes him the best.
Hmm.
But he is a good jump shooter and has been a good shooter before. But he has to do it on a higher reps, a higher volume, and with better efficiency. And if you're treated like a superstar, you want to see better decision making from your star throughout the game a little more consistently. And that last night, just he didn't have it. And Bane's shot was off as well. I wouldn't say the decision making was off or anything there, but Franz showed up and did his thing. But yeah, just Paulo, just some bad choices on some of these shots. But he also made some tough shots too, as you're highlighting
Yeah.
there. But he still did his thing. But he was just he had an off night, and sometimes that happens, and that is the benefit of having this many stars and having the shooting factor now, where you're still in the game even though your star player has an off night.
Right.
So that is a positive, as we've highlighted. Like a lot of things went wrong and they still had a chance to win. But you just gotta, like, when so many little things go wrong, you chalk it up to like more of like you got to clean up some mistakes going into the next one. Like you can't make as many bad entry passes and handoffs that are just unforced turnovers. You can't take a bunch of heaves and like bad shots that could be better shots. Like if you make that many bad decisions, or mistakes, they're going to add up, let alone all the free throws, and you just can't overcome those things. And
Yeah.
the big takeaway is most of those are controllable things that you can work on and learn from and watch the tape and develop. So if shots falling is something you can't really control the night of, but you just hit back into practice, and you got the Bulls the next night, so you got to bounce back and brush it off, and just kind of fall back on your training and belief that you're practicing the right habits. So that's where the team's at.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, outside of that last fourth quarter shot, this is another one that just stood out to me because it's again 10 seconds on the shot clock, and we're getting to a spinning turnaround midi.
Yeah.
And you have Luke Kennard on you, and then Asa Newell's on the back line. Like this, if there was any opportunity to bulldoze your way to, and again, it's easier said than done to say, hey, just get to the rim.
Yeah.
But I do think like here, there has to be a better shot. I think for what this shows to me, like we saw this similar thing with Nikhil. I think he's worried about the dig. I think because he's played in these scenarios where he has so many people digging at his handle because of how limited the spacing is. I think he's almost too aware that Dyson's right there, and then he's trying to protect the ball and spins away from it. So I think that was one of many questionable decisions. But to your point, like that's the process is going to take time for them to, sort of understand where they want to be with this offense, because they're going to have to figure out like what's the optimal balance here. Like I think like when they're playing in semi-transition here, like this looked really clean. You sent this clip over to me to start the game. Like you hear Paolo's going to draw two immediately in semi-transition. He's going to get it to Jalen. This is a really nice shot pass fake. And he finds Franz open in the corner. So it looked good from time to time, 100%. But
Yeah.
I think that both teams kind of have it's a lot easier said than done to integrate a lot of different pieces. And I also think that from the Magic's perspective, Desmond Bane, while he's going to upgrade the on-ball creation and his own individual shot making, it's still going to take someone else to step up. Now, I think Suggs is on a minutes restriction, right?
Yeah, for now. He's
Okay.
not playing he's not playing tonight, for example, against the Bulls on the back-to-back. And there was one other, I did like that three from Franz, and there was one
Mhm.
other play right after that too where Franz and Bain had kind of a nice back and forth handoff where you just kind of see like you can if both of these guys can hit the three ball, they can just run these handoffs together almost in inverted or any direction as many times as you want until somebody just gets like an inch of space. And normally that's like Steph Curry trying to get space off of Draymond. It's not both guys being able to get space on
Mhm.
any single possession. And the moment one of them's free, they can hit the open three like that. So that's what makes the offense dynamic if Franz's 3-point shot continues to develop, and he should get a lot more open looks this way, and an example of Bane's gravity as well.
Yeah. I know I'll be watching you all closely. I do think that we'll probably be jostling back and forth. Ideally, in an ideal scenario for seeding. So I'll be watching a lot of Magic games. I saw Jet Howard got some minutes, so interested to see what he looks like because he had a pretty strong preseason. Jonathan Isaac wasn't really in the rotation. That surprised me a little bit too. I do think against a Hawks team that you don't always, like, at least from a surface level, you may not need his defensive impact. Maybe that
Yeah.
was sort of
I
the
think
thinking.
if Kristaps was out there, that
Right.
probably would have changed a little bit. Kristaps was out to injury, and Isaac has had many matchups where he defends Kristaps really well. So I think that one might have been a matchup based decision, just personnel. Like you don't have Jalen Johnson as well at halfway through the game. Like
Yeah.
you're relying on Isaac for shutting down defensive big men, front court guys more than anything. So you definitely could have thrown him at Trae for a minute, but you don't need him to necessarily like you're not getting the full benefits of his skill set if you're just kind of throwing him to just contest catch and shoot 3-point jumpers or whatever it necessarily is. So I think it was a little more matchup based for the Isaac decision. Otherwise, he's normally in the top 9 rotation for Coach Mose. He reliable
Mhm.
defender for the second unit, and that's the other thing with Coach Mosley is like it's very much a matchup availability based lineup decision. So like on the one hand, there is continuity normally with the second unit. The full lineup is normally the same second unit lineup. Maybe there's like a handful of like 2 or 3 man combos that they really like to run, like Franz pick and rolls with any of the big men. Um, Paolo and Bain playing with bench unit or anyone really could be a nice little combo. Um, but yeah,
Sure, man. I appreciate you taking the time. It was a fun game. It was nail biter down to the end. And I think in general, the NBA has put on a really good product the first couple of days, man. Like I've been rewatching games every morning, like the
It's
ones
been
that I
crazy.
missed. So it's been good. It's been good hoops.
Good hoops, man, no doubt. I mean, we got a 49-point Luka triple double already. We got Wembanyama popping off for all these crazy games, looking like an alien already. I mean, the NBA is back. I love it. We got Steph popping off, AG 50 piece. I mean, this is
Yeah,
week one. Week one, we're right back at it. I can't wait to get back into it, and it's just an avalanche of hoops coming our way. Can't wait.
for sure. Yeah, let the people know where to find you, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate you having me today, David. Check out the social media at Beyond the Arcade, Twitter, Substack, YouTube. I am writing for Magic on SI this season. You can find my coverage of the team there. Find the Learning Basketball podcast on Swish Theory, where I'll also, be writing some grassroots scouting reports and NBA data viz, NBA scouting analytics stuff. I'm doing all that on all those platforms. So check it out, and definitely excited to catch this Magic season and just ride the ups and downs of the season, see where it goes. It's a fun time to cover this team, and same with the Hawks. I mean, these are two exciting teams in the East at the same time. When the conference is wide open, Hawks, if anything, actually have more playoff experience to this point with the Trae Young core at the very least, or at least Trae does. I don't know how many guys are left over from that team now. But he's been in the big moments. So it's a fun matchup, fun like in conference type of Southeast Division rivalry. I actually, would love to see like a playoff series come around that time, because it's just an exciting matchup. Even though the fouls are going to get to both teams. Nobody wants to see the fouls, the free throws kind of element, and both of these teams love to rack up some free throws. So there is an element of there too. But it's still a fun matchup with a lot of like exciting stars. So when you get a close game with Trae Young and Paolo and Bane and Franz going back and forth, like that's fun time. So should be a fun matchup the rest of the way. But thanks a lot for having me, David.
Of course, man. Thank you for taking the time. Y'all make sure to please support him on his platforms. He does great work. Please make sure you share the podcast, subscribe, add it to your podcast feeds, subscribe to my Substack. Will be linked down below. And then you, of course, can support me directly by buying Hawks tickets to my affiliate link. I hope you all enjoyed the episode, and y'all be safe.